Alright, welcome back viewers. We are here at the next day working on the Buick Encore. We have got our oil, our filter, and the coolant reservoir. I know y'all gonna hate this, but is what it is. Sometimes it's the only one you can get in a timely fashion, but it's a Dorman. And that is the part number. It is 603-955 for the 2015 Buick Encore. So let's go ahead and get to it. Should be pretty straightforward. Since there's not a lot of coolant in the reservoir now, I'm trying to basically not make a mess. So we will try our best. What I think we'll do is we'll disconnect it, and the bottom hose, we will actually try to tip the reservoir to keep coolant in it so we don't make a mess. If we do, not a big deal. Just don't like to always make a mess when I don't have to, because then you got to clean it up. So anyway, we've got to pop out some plastic clips around this plastic cover, and there should be 2 bolts, as you can see from the new one. And what I'm guessing is the classic fashion of the metal tab that GM likes to use on their evap system on the valves. So let me get you closer in a better position and we will get to it. Bear with me for a second. I'm probably going to have to let y'all down a hair. See if we can get y'all in a nice spot to see what's going on. Alright. So let's get these clips off. These are the pretty, well, I kind of like these a lot more than some, but they too tend to be a little more flimsy because the plastic is well, more flimsy at the top. But as you can see, these clips, they're not as thick as some, and sometimes it always matters what tool you're using, and sometimes you just gotta make do with what you got. So what I'm hoping is that there's nothing else really going on with the cooling system. I know these motors are notorious for problems, and people don't like them. This thing, I forget how many miles it has on it. I don't know if I said that yesterday or not, but I believe it has less than 80. In fact, I know it has less than 80. I just don't know if it's at 60-something thousand or 70-something thousand. And since this is a newer vehicle, everything has pretty much not really been touched, which is nice. Yeah, I'm a lefty, so sometimes it's harder to get to things. I'm not very ambidextrous. So we'll get all these clips out. I think this is the last one. Let's pull up on it. Yep, that's it. Let's get everything out the way. Get these clips, make sure we don't lose them. I believe, yeah, it slides. Kind of has this groove in this plastic chrome grill here that this lip feeds into first. So when we go to put it back on, or if you ever need to do it, you'll need to fit it in that first so the holes for the clips align correctly. we'll set that cover to the side. We got two 10 millimeters. We got the small hose, and we got the big one. And there's, actually, that may not be the metal tab system that I was thinking of, which is great because they're kind of a pain, kind of not. I wish there was something right here I could show you, but if you know what I'm talking about, on the evap system, usually by the tank, a lot of times they use that clip, and it's got a tab in the center, and what I like to do is I'll just bend that tab completely out. It's pretty thick metal, so I've never broken one before. You just bend it out so you're able to pull whatever is holding on, whatever it's holding to, pull it off, and then you can actually push the tab back in so it'll lock. So let's get these 10 millimeters off. Let me disconnect that hose first. Looks like the neighbor is riding their four-wheeler around. Well, I grabbed the big one at first, but I didn't think I would need it. Oh, there we go. I was about to say. Sometimes it's good to just kind of twist. Don't want to twist too hard on, especially since this is a newer vehicle, given it is 10 years old, a little older. Sometimes they get stuck and you need to break the seal on them. So it's nice to, you don't want to crunch down on it and then torque real hard. Just grip it enough and just work it back and forth till you get some movement. And a lot of times after that, you can just pull a hose off. In case you, in this situation, if it were to have broken the nipple, it wouldn't have mattered. We have a whole new one. But in the situation where, you know, you need to not have, if it's something you're not replacing, you don't want to break the plastic, especially the older these things get. This was clear, and if you can tell, it has some yellowing to it, which happens with age and the temperature and whatnot, and fluid going into it. It's plastic, you know. So let's go ahead and grab the big pliers, get these tins out. Now I hope we got enough room. I wish I had my magnet dish, but it's alright, we'll just set it on the toolbox. Yeah, okay, cool deal. So yeah, it just sits in there, which is nice, I guess, in case you break these tabs or if you lose both bolts for some reason. And it actually helps support the bottom too, so even if you didn't connect it back or had no way to connect the top of the tank back, at least it has a spot to rest. That's actually a good idea. And we're able to do exactly what I wanted. And this is exactly what I was trying to do, is tip it over like this. We actually got a lot of room on this hose. That's nice. I like that. Tighten this up a little bit. These spring clamps are real nice. I know a lot of other mechanic channels talk about these, and sometimes they can get damaged. A lot of times when they're older, they can break. I've had that happen. See right there, I don't know if you're able to hear it, but it actually had a bit of a seal on it, and you could actually hear it break the seal. So let's try not to lose any coolant out of there. We'll set this tank up. Well, we can't do too much. And we'll just set it over here. Get the new tank. So here you go. Perfect situation. You see how clear this plastic is compared to the yellowing on this. It happens all the time with age. Nothing you can really do about it. And the tank is perfectly fine, reusable. Might be hard to see. I know I showed it yesterday, but there's some cracks. It'd be easier if I had a light under it, but I showed y'all yesterday. It's got a crack right here. Now we can take a look at the bottom. Doesn't appear to have a crack in it, but appearances can be deceiving. But I suppose you're saying if it had a crack at the bottom, it would be leaking. And you'd be correct. I'm assuming that's a fire truck. Yeah, I'm not noticing anything. I do see something a little odd happening. Well, that's just the way it's made right here. There's a little line. But right here looks a little odd. But I think that's just the way it was made. Anyway, we got a new one. No point in looking at this one. So we have a new radiator cap, and it looks identical to the OEM. Even shows you the PSI. I don't know what's going on, but I hope everything's okay wherever they're headed to. So pretty simple job. 2 hoses, 2 bolts, a couple clips. And just like anything else for the most part, install in reverse. You shouldn't need to use any type of lubrication on these hoses. We'll get the bolts. We'll put them in. We'll just start them real quick. So going back to these having a brain fart here. These clamps, these are actually great for hoses that are going to have heat, something that's going to get hot, warm, and then when you shut the vehicle off, let it sit, it'll cool down. I know this has been said time and time again, but these are really good. These are actually the best to have, these type of metal clamps, but sometimes you just, you can't find the exact right size in the packs that you can buy, and you just need to use a regular worm clip, or what you can use, if I can get to it fast enough. So a lot of times you'll see these type of packs. They're an assortment pack. Now these clamps don't normally come in big sizes, but these are probably the second best, I would say. They're not necessarily going to expand and contract like these spring-loaded types will, but these are definitely better than these. But they all do the same job, so it is what it is. As long as it doesn't leak, Now there is one thing with these clamps. See if I can get you close to here. I got you all on the neck thing. So if you'll see right here where they had it installed from the factory, it's got an indentation. Let's see if I can do this with one hand, or maybe I can just rest y'all. Let me see if I can just rest y'all. Alright. So, in a perfect world, what you'd want to do is put this clamp and seat it exactly where it was. Because over time, with the heat and the pressure, the constant swelling and contracting, it will form these spots like this. Let me see. And you can see on this one right here, same way, they form those little gouges. And if you don't put the clamps in that area back again, exactly where they were, it's possible to have a leak. Have I always done it? Not always. Especially in situations like the Chevy Expresses and the GMC Savannahs. I've noticed it. Maybe even some of the Silverados and stuff. Even the Suburbans and Yukons. They're all basically the same vehicle as far as the layout and the parts. But sometimes from the factory, I imagine it's from the factory, because even though they have been older cars, it doesn't look like they've been fiddled with, and that's exactly how the form on the hose was. But these spring clamps will actually be to the side or pointed directly under, and it's just hard and a pain to get to. And sometimes I have just put the clamp back in a more easier spot and haven't had any leaks. But in theory and in good practice, you should put them back where the indentions are, just so you know you got a nice clamp and you'll have a good seal. Because if you put it in the other areas, you're actually not getting the full force of the clamp from where it was. I'm sure everybody's heard this before. I figured I'd just touch on it. Some people don't care. Some people wonder why they still have a leak. But I figure it's just a good practice thing. Something to mention. And then you may wonder what to say if you put a regular old worm style radiator clamp on it. It is what it is at that point. You know, what can you do? If it leaks, you just tighten it more, type of thing. So what we're going to do is we're just going to pour what's in here. I don't know if y'all saw that, but it leaked out a little through the overflow. It's because I was hitting the lip inside here. I should have just yeeted it like that and been done. Yeah, there's like some baffles and stuff in here, so it's gonna be a little hard to get it all out. I don't know if y'all can see that. They start right about here. I don't know if it's picking it up, but yeah, they got baffles in here. But anyway, that's that. So now that can go to the dump, where it will sit there for 1,000 years and never degrade, pollute the land, and so on and so forth. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna actually try to get y'all over here. Maybe y'all can see a little more, not with the light in the way, huh? We're gonna fill up the tank. Yeah, y'all got a nice little spot. Probably should have had y'all there in the beginning, huh? Alright, let's fill it up. I should have some Dex Cool. And I do. So we got some ready to use, not add water. It's 50-50. It's already pre-mixed right there. Dex Cool, Frim. I know people hate on all types of stuff, but Everyone has their opinion. Nothing wrong with that. We're going to fill this up to the fill line since we know the vehicle is cold. All right. And then we're going to put it under pressure again, like we did yesterday, and we will see if it changes. So I need to bring y'all up a little bit. Let's see here. Is that a little better? Probably don't make a difference, but oh well. So I didn't put the tools back up, so we're gonna put this back on. Well, thought so. What's going on here? Is that seal getting in the way of our thread? I just need a little push while turning. I've noticed too, in like the 2000s, early 2000s, the OEM tanks with the radiator, well, the reservoir cap, I don't know what it is, like say the Silverados and Avalanches, the Grand Dams with the V6, what's the other one? The Malibus. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because of the age or what, but it is. So if you're taking it off, you'll be unscrewing it, and all of a sudden you'll be like, this thing is bound to be unscrewed. It is, but it's like the plastic threads between the tank and the cap, it just won't let go. So you actually have to like get a screwdriver or just pull real hard on one end and work it off. And then when you try to put it on, you're like, why isn't this thing screwing down? Or it screws down cockeyed and whatnot. And you're like, man, what is going on? I've never understood what is the deal with that. But I have noticed that aftermarket ones don't do that. So we're going to go up to 18, 19 pounds like we did yesterday. What you don't want to do is get up to 20 or go past 20 essentially, because that's when the cap is supposed to vent. And if you put too much pressure on the system, you can prematurely blow a seal. So let's give it one more. So we are right at 19 pounds. So let's let her sit. Make sure we got a nice tight connection with everything. We'll let it sit. And now we basically wait. We can take another look, a gander, see if we see anything, but oh yeah, there it is, guys. So that's why. Let me get some nice light. If I can. Everything is plastic and aluminum these days, even though it's not like it's in a great spot here. Let me disconnect this intake hose again. I tightened it back up off camera because I was like, well, I guess we won't be looking down here anymore. But it's not bad. Get this intake hose out the way again. Put it over here to the side like we did yesterday. Now we should have a decent view. Lord have mercy. Okay, here we go. It appears just so y'all can see, I'm gonna give y'all a better view. I'm just trying to see myself right now just to make sure. Yeah, it's leaking out this sensor. I'm assuming that's a coolant sensor. I'm not very familiar with these vehicles, but you can see we definitely have another puddle. I don't know if I can get the drip. The drip. But there you go. You should be able to see the puddle actually moving when the drop hits it. So this is basically where I was hoping to be yesterday evening. But since we had a crack in the reservoir, we couldn't put enough pressure on the system to actually see where the real leak was. So, and that's how sometimes it goes. If you're a DIYer or a weekend warrior type, perfectly fine. I don't blame you one bit. When I started, when I was, in middle school, probably, started working on my own four-wheeler and stuff. So, and plus, you know, if you got some tools, there's plenty of information out now on the internet, unlike back in the day, which there was quite a bit. But it's a lot more stuff and a lot easier to access now. But if you got some tools, you understand basic, you know, mechanics and have a decent common sense about you how stuff works. I don't blame people trying to work on their own stuff, but I think a lot of people kind of butt heads with themselves and they want to save themselves money, which I perfectly understand. But sometimes if it's something that you're not comfortable with and you've never done it before, and if you even have a little worry about it, it'll probably be just safer and cost you less in the long run to just take it to someone, save the money up, take it to someone that, you know, a shop, maybe you got a friend that is, you know, does it on the side or something. But anyway, we found our leak. The real question is, do we get the sensor by itself or do we get a whole thermostat housing? And I have seen online that they make aluminum ones, which would last a lot longer than all this plastic. So it needs an oil change. I don't know. I mean, I guess I can show that in the video. Be a little easier to get to also, since we got the intake hose out the way. Yeah, let's go ahead and just do that. I'm sure a lot of people know how to change your oil. And that's one thing that if you're young or, you know, you're just starting out to do, that's a nice, easy type of job. Especially just watch a video on YouTube of your specific vehicle. The only time I've really seen where people really mess up is if it's a Subaru, because they get confused and they think either the transmission or the front diff is the oil pan drain, and they'll drain one of the two and then double fill the oil. So then they either damage their transmission and damage the motor, or, you know, just one is damaged. But I've seen that quite often. But, oh yeah. Let me go ahead and take the pressure off of it. Because the coolant is actually about to go over top of the vanes of how they cast the transmission. I'm going to soak it up some. And then we'll do the oil change. I guess we could just leave the cap on it. So I like these types, these cartridge paper style oil filters. Y'all probably saw it in the video earlier, but this style, especially when it's up here, you can actually just loosen that up before you even start draining the oil. I mean, I guess it's half a dozen of this, half a dozen of the other type of thing, but okay. I'll get this out of here. We'll put a rag under it. Do I have a used? Yeah. Let's get a used one so I don't get a new one all dirty. I like to sometimes just put a rag or a towel, because even though this thing hasn't ran in about 24 hours, a lot of times there'll be residual oil in there with the filter. And this is the filter type I'm talking about. They should always come with a new O-ring for the seal on the cap that this is going to clip into. And it's always probably a good idea to just double check that it's in the box before you go out of the store. You know, if you have to reuse it once or twice, probably perfectly fine. In fact, I remember a couple years ago, I had a diesel Volkswagen come in and did a oil change, and I had never in my life seen, and it had this style filter. Well, not this specific one, but the style, the paper. I had never seen the O-ring so hard in my life on one of these, and I asked the guy, I was like, have you been changing the oil? Have you been replacing the seals with it? He said he just took it to places and they did it. So somebody wasn't replacing the O-rings on these things, on that vehicle. So the oil has, or the coolant has stopped dripping. In case y'all want to know, this is the number to the oil filter, 2015 Buick Encore. I believe it's what, the 1.4 turbo Eco Tech. And all right, let's stop lollygagging and get to it. Not sure what size that is. Yeah, I figured. Okay, so the size is 24 millimeter. I wish I had a kind of a little bit of a shorter extension for this 1/2-inch drive, but I do not. It should be fine. I know a lot of times people talk about when they change the oil, they'll actually nick the trying to figure out which one's doing that. Yeah, it's that light, ain't it? Seems to be good now. Oh, it's really that one. Alright, well, here, let me get to the other one. I'm new, I don't know what to do. Is that better? Yeah, it's better. Alright. Let me see if I can show y'all. It'll probably happen. Yep, you see? That's what I always... Just for courtesy, I know a lot of people in places are trying to go fast, don't care. They just do it and spritz it with some brake cleaner and go to town. But yeah, let me clean off my toolbox. And like I said yesterday in the video, please excuse my messy shop. Everything's a bit of a mess. Alright, let's get y'all set up. Can y'all see? Yeah. Let me pull y'all down just a hair. Alright. Let me get an old... I tell you, if you do your own stuff and whatnot, I mean, shoot, any real situation, if you got old clothes, torn up stuff, I use torn up clothes a lot. Old stuff that people might want to take to the Goodwill that probably don't, maybe not have holes in it, or if they do, or like the branding or something is messed up on it. I'll always try to get used old clothes from people, because I'm telling you, rags ain't cheap. I mean, nothing really is, but let me pour this out in my oil can. It's a real simple job, especially these styles. I know I've never done one yet, but I've heard Toyotas and like some of the BMWs are a little, they got like a drain plug. A lot of people will damage them, which is not uncommon. It's made of plastic. I think they make aluminum ones, or maybe on like the Toyota, if I recall, it might be aluminum with the plastic plug. I don't know. Like I said, I've never done one of those types, so I don't know if I'll be able to get it on camera. But here, let me get the new one just to try to compare. So this is what I was referring to with the clipping. It just clips into that hole. Most of the time you'll feel it or hear it. There you go, boom. You can even tug on it. Some of them will spin, like the Pentastars. They'll click in like that and you can actually spin them. But you can give it a little tug if you just want to be sure. Let me see. I don't know if it's... Here, let me wipe maybe some of the oil off and it'll be a little more... Not really, but I don't know if you can see, it's kind of flattened on this end. That was on the outside. And if you look at the new one, it's more rounded. So that's why you always want to replace them. But like I said, if for some reason you forget or they don't have it in the box, you could more than likely get away with it for 1 or 2 times. Let me get some oil. Crack the seal open on this. We'll get some oil, put it on the new ring. That way it won't bond up. It'll seat a little better, seal a little better. Put that on the ground. We'll just slide it on. Now, if you're new to this style or if you've never done your own oil changes, always make sure where the seal was. A lot of times it's pretty simple to see. You got your threads, and then right here you got a groove, right almost at the very top. That's where the seal or the O-ring is going to go. Just lubricate the seal a bit, and we're good to go to install this. I'll wipe my hands a little bit, and we'll go back and put this on. I think I'm going to have to pull y'all up a bit. And just like most anything else you take apart, you just put it on in reverse. One thing I've also seen, look at this old rag, and I can see some oil either slipped past the rag or missed the shot, but we cleaned it up. I will show y'all in a second. So a lot of times people with the plastic cap that holds the oil filter, they will crank these things down so hard that they'll crack the plastic cap. And on the Pentastars, I've seen this a lot too, is they'll actually torque the cap down because it's a plastic cap with the plastic housing, and with the wear it is, it's a pain, because it's actually in the valley of the cylinder heads, so you got to take the intake. It's actually not a terrible job. Pays pretty good. It's just, if that oil cooler leaks a long time, it's a lot to clean up, basically. But anyway, people with the plastic on plastic, the plastic cap with the plastic oil filter housing, they'll crank down on it so hard that they'll actually crack the housing and then have an oil leak. So what you want to do is just pay attention. Just watch where the plastic on the cap, you know, just do it by hand until it gets a little tough. Sometimes you can actually hear it depends on the style of the filter, but sometimes you can actually hear it clip it. Like sometimes the bottom will have for instance, the Pentastar, it has a little nipple with a seal at the bottom, and sometimes you can actually hear and feel it start clipping in. But you know, well, in both cases, just keep screwing down till it gets tight, hand tight, like that, and then just give it a little snug, just a little bit, and that's all you need. Sure, I'm sure there's people that are going to say, well, you need to put the right torque on it, all this stuff. Yeah, you're right. They make torque specs for just about everything on a vehicle, but if you've been doing it long enough, you know your own strength, you know what something feels like in your hands and whatnot, you just get accustomed to what it feels like and how things go. So that's good. We're good to go on the filter. And I can't stress enough, you don't need to tighten and torque these style oil filter caps and housings down that much. It does not take much, like I said. And you can actually just watch the matting surface of the plastic go to the aluminum or plastic to plastic, and you'll feel it. You'll feel it. Once when it gets tight by hand, just give it a little snug, just a little bit, and that's good enough. The seal is there for a reason, and it's going to do its job. As long as you have the thing, you know, torqued down, essentially, and it'll be fine. So let's get our lights out of here. We'll go under it, lift it up, drain the oil, we'll fill it up, and that'll be that. I'm gonna put y'all dead center. Try to anyway. Maybe I'll focus y'all down a bit. Yeah, I don't know if I like this whole stand setup. I wish I knew people that actually, you know, did this regularly. You know what we can do, since we don't need to be here anymore, is we can put our cover back on. Let me pull y'all away. Yeah, I'm not sure how much I like this thing. Alright. We'll put our cover back on, put the clips in since we're done. We don't need to take the tank back off anymore. Like I said, just get that groove into the slit on the plastic grill. Get your clips. Now, if you're missing a few, actually the way that this is designed, you could essentially not even put these things back in, and it wouldn't matter. I highly doubt you'd get any type of fluttering sound or anything going down the road from wind. But even if you're missing a few though, what I would do is I would put them on the corners and then the front, and if you got any more, you can just, you know, distribute them however you like. But we have all of them, which is nice. It's always nice to end up with the factory stuff, the amount and whatnot, and be able to put it in the same way. So let's jack this thing up, drain the oil, and that'll be it for this video. I did not really... I thought it was odd that the way that the leak looked. There we go. I thought it was odd the way that the leak looked, and I didn't think that the tank was the reason. And so now we see why that it was pulling up on the center. And I had mentioned before how the guy that owned this before the current owner told him about the leak at that bleeder valve, the bleeder hose valve. I don't know if it's a valve, I doubt it, but anyway. But I don't understand why it's not leaking anymore, unless you could actually get that part separately. It's possible. I haven't looked it up yet. Only thing I really looked up was the actual housing, and saw that some people were able to get aluminum ones, which I might try to see if the owner wants to do that. But anyway, that's for the future. Didn't know this would be a 3 videos type of situation, but you just gotta go with the flow sometimes. So let's jack it up and drain this oil out. I was just double checking. Drain the oil out, fill it up, and then that'll be the end of this video. So let's do that. Headphone wearers, beware. Seems like I need to tighten my cables on my lift up again. I feel like I did that not too long ago, but in all honesty, it was probably 2 or 3 years ago when I did that. Let's get a light. Probably, well, this one seems to do better with the camera. The worst problem is finding something to stick it to. Alright. Okay, let's get our drain can. This drain plug is kind of set up like a diesel. It's just straight down. Let me see if I can fit y'all under here. Get y'all right here. Can y'all see it? No. There you go. What do y'all guys think this is? Looks like someone's put the wrong size on here before. Got a little bit of some marring. I think it's a 10. Yeah. Now what would be nice is if the motor was nice and hot. The oil would be hot, it would come out a lot faster. But since this drain plug is completely at the bottom, hopefully it won't be too bad. Looks like he needs a drain plug too. I might actually try to get, yeah, that's, you know what, that's what we'll do. We'll just end the video here with the drain, because I'm not liking, here, let me clean it up a little bit. The seal on this plug is, I mean, just completely flat. I know that that's not where all this oil is coming from, if this is even leaking, but having a seal flat like that is definitely a cause for a leak. I know he's got a leak at the oil pan up front here, which I don't know if I showed y'all. But here you go, here's a drain plug cleaned up. You can kind of see the seal is started to break a bit. It's been flattened out real bad. See about getting him a new plug too. Hopefully it'll be the same design. I'm not too keen on using aftermarket seals and whatnot. Now if it's a copper gasket or like Subaru uses the crush washers. I don't know if they still do or not. But I'm pretty sure they do. They're just a smaller version. Subarus use these crush washers. I actually like them a lot. And a lot of people claim they reuse them all the time and whatnot, but I mean, I've done it before too, gotten by, but they're so cheap. You can get like a handful for a couple dollars. That's what I usually do. I'll go to Subaru and get, I don't know, like 20 or 30. And that way I have enough for the year type of deal. On my Subaru, like a 2000 to 2005, this actually works for the oil drain plug and the transmission drain plug. And in the newer ones, it's not even going to try to focus. Yeah, there you go. And the newer ones use a smaller crush washer on the oil plug. But I believe, well, I don't know about the CVTs, but I know the newer ones past 2005 with regular automatic transmission still use the bigger ones on the transmission plug. Now the front differential crush washer, I believe, is a completely different size, like bigger completely. I've never had to reuse them. In fact, I can't remember if it's actually a crush washer or not. I've just always reused it, never had an issue anyway. But we'll throw away our oil filter box. And no sense in doing anything more if we're going to get another drain plug for the oil pan. But that's that, guys, and I guess we'll just make a third video on this. Shouldn't really have been such a long video per se, but I don't know. I'm new. I don't know what to do, so I'm just going along with it. So we'll catch you next time. Hope to see you there. Welcome back, viewers. We are here on Christmas Day. I was hoping to get this done yesterday when I went and got the rest of the parts that we needed. This is going to be a short video just to kind of close up. Hopefully nothing else is leaking on the thing. We'll see once we put some pressure on the system. But we went and got the temperature sensor, which is OE, which was actually cheaper than an aftermarket product, which I'm always surprised by that. But I did not go to GM. I have a account through a aftermarket brick and mortar store, but this is the GM OEM part. They marked out the GM part number for some reason, but it is made in the Czech Republic, which is very interesting. I actually have worked with 3 people way back when I was younger in high school from the Czech Republic, and I have to tell you, they love to party over there. They love their, well, at least back in that day, the 3 people I worked with, they loved their rave music, their EDM, dubstep type of music, and they were fun people. I worked with a lot of cool characters when I was younger, and they were definitely 3 of some of the most entertaining type of people. They were nice, great people also, and one of them was a girl. She was very, very pretty, and they're just, and that's what I've noticed with a lot of places and people like that. A lot of times it's, you know, the people are always, you know, normal citizens and people just trying to go through their day. They're always nice, and people just want to have fun, make money, and go about their lives. But anyway, getting off subject, this apparently, I think we mentioned earlier in another video that there is 2 temp sensors, one at the radiator on the passenger side and then one at the thermostat housing, and apparently they are both the same. So part number from GM, I don't know if it supersedes to anything since they marked it out. I'll let y'all. No, it is 55591002. Even if it does supersede, GM should be able to pull this part up. We also got a new drain plug. I don't know if I can get it on video. I got this one tilted a little bit. But if you can tell, the old one, the O-ring is flat, torn, damaged. The new one has just a slight lip. You can actually feel it better than you can see it, or maybe it's just the angle I'm trying to show you. But all I'll make this video about is just putting the new temperature sensor in, and we'll just double check to see if it's leaking. I won't bore y'all with, you know, putting the drain plug back on, filling the oil, checking it, and priming the system and whatnot, or rotating the tires. Like I said, when I do oil changes, I always rotate tires for people as long as the tires are good enough to rotate. And sometimes people like to mix match used tires and whatnot, and I always try to put the best tires usually on the driving to the steering tire, or the steering um, half of the vehicle. But I won't bore y'all with that either. Pretty much, you know, if you bought a newer vehicle, you're getting free tire rotations anyway. If you bought new tires, you're getting free rotations. At least everywhere I know will do it for you for the life of you owning those sets of tires. And if you're rotating your own tires, then you already know what's up. So, and it's pretty straightforward. You can Google it if you need to. You can just Google image tire rotations, and it'll tell you, you know, if you got front wheel drive, all wheel drive, or rear wheel drive, where to send the different tires. So I don't think it's really worth recording it and having people watch it, because most of the time, I mean, do-it-yourselfers, if you're doing it, you already know. So let's get to it. This is going to be one of those quick exchange type of situations, because what's going to happen is we're going to pull a pin like a grenade pin, and we're going to have some coolant leakage. But I'm hoping, since the vehicle is cold, it's not pressurized, we can just quickly just pull it, let the other one fall out. We'll just throw this one in, and we'll go from there. I also noticed when we were checking the first time, before we let it cool down, the first time when I was letting it run, I noticed that the fans were constantly on. Not high, it would gradually find what speed it wanted to be at, and it would fluctuate. But I did notice that the cooling fans were on all the time, so usually that means a bad temp sensor. It doesn't have a check engine light or codes, so I don't know if maybe an air pocket was getting caught up at the thermostat, but we'll figure all that out. Let me see if I can get y'all in a nice position here where y'all have room to see and I got room to work. Let me double check y'all. I'm not sure if y'all can see. I'm gonna have to bend y'all down just a tad bit. Alright, so this, I get my hand out the way. That's probably still in the way. We're gonna have to pull this wire, and it's connected to the temperature sensor that we are going to replace. I'm gonna get a hook pick. One like this. It's gonna work out very well to reach this pin, or this metal clip, should I say, that holds the temperature sensor in. Of course, I'm wearing all this stuff, kind of eliminates my mobility, and then got y'all right there, so trying not to move y'all around too much so y'all can see. Move the harness out the way. Alright, that's not gonna help much. Alright, so this thing should spin. It does. We got a little metal clip right here. I got it hooked on it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull that. That's probably gonna go spewing this way, because I'm sure there's gonna be some coolant that's going to come out. Let's get something to absorb it. I wish I had diaper rags. Those ones that they're usually like gray, that absorb a good amount. But like I mentioned before, I do use a lot of old clothing. Yeah, I thought that would be real bulky. Let me see if I can unfold it one time. I really need to get some type of magnetic stand because I'm using my phone as of this point of trying to just record. Alright, I think that should be good enough. Let me get my sleeves up so I can get some mobility, because I want to do this quick. I don't want to lollygag and lose a bunch of coolant and have a big old air bubble to worry about. Actually, you know what I can do? Just pull that real quick. Oh, look at that. Cool deal. Don't need to pick anymore, but what we do need to do is get this sensor out. Alright. That is literally it. We are going to have to... Man, this is quite tight. Let me see about getting this stuff from out the bottom. Might help. Yeah, you can see that the seal is actually start to flatten from heat cycles and whatnot. The thermostat doesn't look terrible, but it does seem to have some starting corrosion. Alright, so let's move this out of our way. And we still made a little bit of a mess. Unfortunately, I don't have you on a great spot. So I'm trying to just double check. I'm guessing it goes around the top of the copper area. Yeah, this is going to be a pain. Just because of how tight of an area it is. So what you're gonna have to do, kind of push in while you're pushing on the temp sensor, while you're pushing the clip in, and that's good. You can actually and you can give it a little tug, the sensor. Just rotate it back up so you can put your harness back on it. Here, click. Give it a little tug. Don't pull too hard, because it is possible that you could pull the wires out of the harness there. So let's clean up the rest of that. Let's clean up the rest of this coolant. And this poor shirt is soaked. Just gonna clean up a little bit of some excess coolant that got flung around when moving the shirt. I'll clean up this coolant that's in the valleys here. Not a big deal, especially if you're working on your own vehicle. But if you're working on somebody else's, gonna wanna do your due diligence to just try to clean up as much as you can. And this is soaking, just spreading stuff now. So let's hook the intake tube back up and we'll put it under pressure, and hopefully, as long as there's nothing else going on, that should be it. I don't know, I'm sure this is gonna probably be posted way past Christmas of 2025, but Jesus. I hope y'all had a good 2025 Christmas and have an even safer and better New Year's. I know the past couple years I haven't had New Year's resolutions because one, I always give up on them, but this year I do have some, well, just one really, and that's lose weight. Gotten a bit fat and lazy this past couple years. Alright, there we go. So let's put some pressure on this. And we'll just see what we got. Again, we'll go up to 18, 19 foot-pounds, or 18, 19 PSI. And double check. Higher than I want to be. Alright, well, we are at 18 pounds exactly. We'll let her sit. Double check our work. Make sure nothing else is leaking. While we wait, let's go ahead and jack up the car. I know I said I wouldn't bore y'all with a drain plug and filling it with oil, but we will give time for the pressure to sit and stay, see if we're losing any. Hopefully not, because it is Christmas Day. I was hoping to finish this yesterday, but with holidays and family stuff, I didn't want to do it today. I wanted to just hang out and relax, but when you get older, you just gotta go with the flow. You can't control everything. Alright. Let's jack it up. And just replace that drain plug. Alright. Since it's a new seal, we'll just take this little drop of oil that's sitting right here at the plug hole, spread it around. Tighten it up. Just snug it. You don't need to go hog wild. It's a 10mm drain plug, and it's a steel plug on aluminum. You don't need to go putting all of your force into it. Just like the plastic cap for the filter, once when you get it tight, just give it a little turn. I know a lot of people like to praise, well not praise, well I mean yeah praise, but they always feel like they need to use a torque wrench on everything. I mean, if that's how you feel, go for it. There's nothing wrong with that either. But after you've been doing it for 20 years, you just get to know the feel of things. And we'll just go ahead, put it fully on the ground, take our post, get them out from under it. Actually, before I get ahead of myself, let's actually leave them under the car just in case. I think I'm gonna get some brake cleaner just to get up some of that residual coolant. Of course, it's so tight, it's hard to do. Need two hands just so I can direct the flow of it. We'll wipe it down one more time. Although now that we got this intake hose in the way. Not gonna be much I can do. But it's something. I guess while we're waiting, we can fill the oil. I don't work with these engines very much. I think they take a little over 4 quarts. We'll have to just double check. The holes are so small and tight that the oil has like no flow to it. The reason why I don't want to take my lift arms from under the car is just in case, for some reason, it might be leaking somewhere else. Because I've seen it countless times where, you know, so we replaced the tank because it had a crack in it, so we couldn't get pressure on the system. And then once we were able to get pressure on the system with the new tank, we could actually see where the leak was coming from. I've seen this countless times where you start fixing coolant leaks, and not too long after, the customer will have another one, or you will see another one. So it's always good just to double check, make sure you're not leaking from anywhere else. We'll let that oil ride, and we'll check it on the stick, but we'll ultimately prime the vehicle, let it run for about 20 seconds or so, 15-20 seconds, and then we'll double check the level from the stick. So far, I don't see it leaking anymore from the thermostat or the temperature sensor seal, so that's good. Yeah, I think we could use a little more, because when we get the motor running, get oil through the system again, like the filter, it's going to absorb a little bit. And right now we are, oh, I should have shown y'all, but we're right below the cross hatches at the top. So I'll just add just a tiny bit more to try to compensate. And we're still at 18. We're sticking right there, so that's good. That is very good. All right. So let's We'll have to let it run anyway to try to get any bubbles out of it. Oh, this is a Lyle. This is my kit. It's a Lyle. I really like these. I don't know if it's still the same part number, but it's 24680. It's just a funnel to fill your coolant system, and if you get bubbles, it can be basically, well, it's a mess-free design, so when it pressurizes, has bubbles, you won't make a big mess. Now, in an emergency situation, you could take the radiator cap off or the cap off this reservoir and do it, but I used to do it that way back when I was younger, and it is quite a pain, especially having to sit there and just worry about it overfilling and then it's spilling, or if you underfill it and try to gauge how much you need to put in before it might, it pressurizes and gets too much. Yeah, I'm not seeing any more leaks. I'll just double check. I do see something right here. I'm not sure if what's that from? In fact, it looks exactly like that stupid bubble system that I told you that was leaking before. In fact, I believe that's exactly what's happening. The thing I told y'all that people will break a lot or break the seal. Let me show y'all. Get y'all in a nice spot. Pretty sure y'all can see. So what we're going to do is right here, and I probably can't see it at y'all's angle, but it's wet, and I've wiped the plastic tubing at the bottom, and we're just going to watch to see if it gets wet again. Well, I said all that. It looked like it was leaking. Because I have noticed we are just a hair under 18 pounds now. It looks like it's got some coolant sitting where that, basically kind of exactly how we put the temperature sensor, this clip right here. It looks like there's some where it sits. Yeah, there's somewhere it sits. I don't want to soak it up just in case it is just a slight leak. I tell you. Oh, plastic design. could have saved a lot of customers' headache by making this whole housing aluminum and just making these things just screw in. I'm not seeing too much activity. But it's definitely wet around it. And we'll just... Yeah, I definitely can see the fluid. Oh yeah. It's light and little, but it's definitely there. I can see it pulling up where this clip goes in. Yeah. So it's going to need one of these, which I believe is just a... I don't know if it's an actual valve in it or not, but it helps bleed the air out the system. Well... yeah. I can't... I thought originally the only way to get this was to get a whole thermostat housing, and when I heard that you can get it separately, I was like, okay, cool. Well, his thermostat housing isn't leaking, so it'll be cheaper. Oh, little did I know. But anyway, I still don't know if I would have done that technically, because that's not really the problem. It's just this stupid design of using O-rings and plastic, and could have just done it the way that it's always been done, which is just brass screwed into aluminum. But I guess that's it. I'll have to go and get that thing, and we'll just have to finish it up in another time. Well, I hope y'all had a good Christmas, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.